All right, I'm gonna do a part two to the video that I just posted. About older guys in their 30s and you know, them dating younger women or how they're viewed in regards to younger women. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine. She is black and Japanese. And we just had this conversation. She was asking me what I was doing. Actually, she's a YouTuber as well, and she, was basically agreeing with some of the shit that I was saying on the previous video. Where I basically confirmed that it's a tradition and it's a culture thing, and she made the statement that like she's always dated older guys. Like this girl is 26 years of age now, and she's dated like men 37, 38, and then she just said, I wish I can find me a 43-year-old guy who had his shit together, who was on point and all of that. I would fuck around with him, and she's not even 30 yet, but she said that, it's my Japanese side, it's my Japanese culture that, basically gives me that ideology that, that would be a good move. Like I mentioned in the previous video that, you can go back to your 30s and your 40s and your 50s where it was normal to see a guy that was, 17, 18 years older than his wife. Like I said, it even happened with my grandfather. A lot of cultures, even still today, who, they still practice that same tradition. As long as the guy is able to support the wife, and as long as the guy, has a substantial amount of resources, then, it's okay. Like, even with the women, like, I've seen the cases with a lot of the women who would approach their mothers and fathers in these cultures, and, they'll chop off some years from the guy and say, oh, no, he's not 38 years old. He's, 33 or some shit like that, saying this girl is like, 23 and shit. And I'm like, damn, that's fucking terrible. But it's a society that we live in here in America, especially in the black community, that makes us think like, man, that's just unnormal. It's not the ideal. But in his culture, he I guess, he, fit the bill to her parents, because all the lying that this girl did, once the parents found out, well, he has his own place, he's going to school for engineering, he has his own shit going on for him, he's not messing around with other women, and, it was no problem. And the girl was like, oh, well, damn, I didn't know. So it just has a lot to do with the culture that we live in today. And I also mentioned to my homegirl on the phone just now, that's why we have a lot of problems when it comes down to single parenting, because a lot of the guys who are around the same age bracket as these young women, you got to remember, at the same time, a lot of women, they age, a little faster than men, not just physically, but also mentally as well. These women are more mature. You can see this even as far as like looking back in your high school years. A lot of women are more mature than the guys who are around the same age as them. So when these women have children by these guys the same age as them, these guys are taking on the responsibility and, going through experiences that they have never even, made plans for, have never even got any advice for the majority of them, especially if they're raised under a single parent household. So now they're taking on all of these responsibilities, and they just can't handle that. So bruh, it's crazy, man. And I don't think that shit will ever get better. So she just got off the phone with me, and I wanted to kind of like pinpoint that shit out, because I think it's kind of funny. My homegirl who I just got off the phone with, she's always told me, like, don't never give up on a lot of these women, especially like the women around my age. I had to explain to her, like, man, Look at the women around my age. Like, I mean, you can see this shit. Even though she's 26 and shit, like, she knows, a lot of the women around my age as well. Like, she sees the shit. She knows that these women around my age are, you know, they're gone. Like, they ran through, they have multiple kids with multiple guys, and then the other half is just unattractive. It's just like the pickings are slim when it comes down to it. So, when you see guys my age, like, there's been a lot of comments about that, like how a lot of these guys usually see younger women as being attractive, but at the same time, you got to deal with the culture of a lot of these young women as well, and it's just unbalanced. She was telling me it was her Japanese side because, yeah, she's right. A lot of Japanese do understand, like, the traditional patriarchy where, you might have an older guy who, is more sustainable. He can provide resources. He has more knowledge, more wisdom, how to, move. And, a lot of the guys who are her age, they're not there yet. They're not mentally or even financially there yet. So like I said, I mean, you can go back in time. Like, I can't tell you how many men, old men who have died in their 90s, late 80s and 90s and shit, and their wives were in their like late 70s and shit. And these widows, they lived for years and years and years before they died. It's almost like some Nancy Reagan and Ronald Reagan type shit. Granted, I believe that they were closer in age. I mean, I can pull it up right now and see, but that's usually how a lot of these women were with their male counterparts. Because then when you look at the obituaries for the guys who had passed away previously, the women are like closer to the same age that the guy was when he died. You have some cases where, you have one person who dies and then the other one dies like sooner or later, like close, maybe a year later, due to, just being alone and shit like that. But for the most part, the wives are much younger, but that traditional sense is no longer around anymore. I mean, it's terrible, man. I was telling her too, like, I've learned to accept the shit, man. But that doesn't mean, and you guys probably heard me say this in a lot of videos, that doesn't mean that I am going to date down just because I did the right thing, because I showed some discipline. Shout out to my homeboy, Sarge Willie P. Discipline. Because I knew that, hey, I cannot bring a son or a daughter into this world under fuck up circumstances. I can't do it. I know the circumstances that I went through. I'd be damned, man, if I bring another kid into this world, like how I came up. It's just not happening. You know what I'm saying? But, the single parenting, all of that shit, like, so many stories, man. So many stories. Like, my homegirl, I told you guys, man, about the video about, the girl who had a father and a mother who was a principal, and, me and her was cool, and, she fucked around with a guy, and, the guy was, like, around her age, and ended up getting her pregnant. She's a single mother now, and before that, she had everything going for her, and I see that, bro. I see that with a lot of women. Some of the most beautiful women I've seen this shit happen to them, and I'm like, damn, bro, that is fucking terrible. That is sad. But then it's usually after they have the kids where they wake up and they're like, you know what, Sam, how you doing? You were right. And then they want to inquire on me and shit like that. I'm like, can't even do it, man. But then I'm the bad guy. So, wow. You know what I'm saying? Why am I wrong for, just bowing out? You know what I'm saying? And I mean, even the whole thing about it just being a fuck thing with these women that are, having these kids out of wedlock, or, the women who are, at my age who, they just They've already lived their life and had their kids and shit. Now they're trying to maintain their sexy because they, want a guy now. They want to still date because they're single and shit. They still want to be validated. They still want the ring. And it's like, when I deny the relationship and, I just want to keep it on the friendship level. I'm the fucking bad guy. I gotta hear shit like, well, there aren't any women out there. All you have to choose from is us single mothers and all the fat, unattractive bitches. It's like, shit, man. You know, I'm not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? So, it's a dangerous position. It's a dangerous situation. So, hey, at least I'm not like I'm even with the whole theory about, what, these single women are just fucks. They're just a fuck thing. I've even tuned that shit out. I mean, I had to tell my homegirl I just got off the phone with, like, man, I gotta get some respect at least for that. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, even with my homegirl, like, she's a single mother as well. She dated and had a kid with a guy who had already had a kid from a previous relationship, and they were the same age. You know, they were like 20, 21 when they had this kid that she has. So now, like, I mean, she dates guys like 37, 38 years old, and um, they they're a little more mature. They're a little bit more established and shit. They can teach her things and show her more of a calmer life, and their sex game's still on point from what she says. But when she deals with guys her age, like, she can immediately see the immaturity. But hey, that's her Japanese background. She says it's in her blood, even though she grew up in a predominantly black community as well. But that's neither here nor there. But she dates older and she kind of like sees the difference. So I guess that's a good thing. But that's just a small percentile of what goes on out here. So just wanted to just cover that up because I just got off the phone with her, and I just wanted to kind of like pinpoint the whole thing about how single parenting plays a big role into it too. Because it really does. I mean, you got to remember, a lot of these guys who are these females' ages, of course they're not established. I mean, we have a small percentage in comparison to the black women. We have a small percentage of men who are getting their shit together. So, you guys be cool. Samson, peace.